We have some unusual, unique guests in the house. We wanted to bring you news company Ozy Media announcing its 4th annual Ozy Fest today. It's billed as a 2-day music, comedy, and ideas festival set to take place this summer here in New York City. Some people call it the South by Southwest of New York. And New York Yankee, former New York Yankee, A-Rod will be co-hosting the event this year, and we are thrilled to have both of them here, along with the man behind it, Carlos Watson, as well. Thank you guys for coming in.
Great to be here. Thank you, guys.
How did you, we've talked, you've been on the show talking about this, you've also been on the show but how did you guys get together?
Well, Carlos interviewed me last year at Ozy Fest, and when I walked, I said, are you serious with this event? It's really the coolest event I've ever been a part of, because having 25,000 people in Central Park, like, I only know big parks is usually Yankee Stadium. Right. And I finally reached out to him. I said, Carlos, how can I be involved? How can I be helpful? And that's how we hooked up.
What I love about Ozy Fest is that we marry people you might not expect to be there. So, Malcolm Gladwell, right. John Legend, Trevor Noah, and others. And Alex said, this is something I want to play with a little bit. And so it's getting bigger this year. The city's embraced us.
How many people?
100,000 people this year.
Wow. How much do you have to, I was actually thinking about this, how much do you have to pay the city of New York and the parks to do this?
You just say I'm with Andrew Ross Sorkin, everything works out, so it's easy that way.
Is that hard, though?
It is, but one of the things that we're really appreciative of is the city's embraced it. I think we're in a moment kind of post-Amazon where the city's looking to kind of put its front foot forward, and I think they've liked the idea that you've got something outdoors. It's not just a music festival, not just an ideas festival, but gives you the best of both.
That's really interesting, the idea that the city is looking to put its best foot forward. Do you think the people you deal with have been dealing with a little bit of the blowback of not having Amazon located at second headquarters?
I always say we lost Amazon, but we gained Ozy Fest.
Yeah.
And it's really a festivity. It's a block party that involves a little media, a little entertainment, a little swag, and it's fun. It's music, and we're going to enjoy it. And it is a celebration of the greatest city in the world.
We all like a swag bag. What's in the swag?
Crazy stuff, unusual VR headsets. For those of you who are chefs, we've got 3 crazy chefs this year. You've got Rachel Ray, you've got Marcus Samuelson, you've got Padma Lakshmi. Right. So it's worth getting the goodies.
Okay, I want to pivot the conversation just a little bit. There's a lot of news going on right now, and one of the things I wanted to ask you about specifically is digital media. We were talking about Disney's earnings last night. You're in the digital media space. I mean, that is your business. Disney wrote down its entire stake in Vice to 0.
You trying to say that Iger should have invested in Ozy? Is that what you're saying?
That's one way to look at it. But that whole space has been very, very challenged. And so I'm curious, sort of, A, how it's going for Ozy, and B, sort of how you look at this.
Well, actually, it's perfectly timed to the conversation that Alex and I are having, because I think companies that have been digital only, that's the only way that consumers could enjoy it, I think have definitely had a harder time. Whether that's Vice, whether that's BuzzFeed, whether that's Mike, they've had a hard time. Folks like Gimlet in the podcast space, right. Folks like the folks behind Coachella in the event space, people like Ozy that are doing primetime television shows, that are doing top-tier podcasts, that are doing a festival like Ozy Fest. I think you've got more legs to stand on, and I think you've got a broader, sturdier media company.
Yeah, and you see what Iger did with hiring Jimmy Pitaro at ESPN. You go from 100 million subs at ESPN to 87, and all of a sudden you get ESPN Plus. Now they've gone past the 2 million mark. Great defense and a great move by Bob Iger.
Right. What do you think of sports rights generally? You saw also, though, the sale of the regional sports nets, the Fox sports nets, went for $10 million rather than the 20.
10 billion.
10 billion, rather, I'm sorry, rather than the 20 that some people had been expecting. This is your world.
Well, if you go back to Comcast, one of the great purchases was NBC, and it's been phenomenal. And then if you look at RSN, if we look 5, 10 years from now, that may be even better. Obviously, Yes Network's going to be a great trade. There's a lot of interesting things going on right there. But there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in RSN.
When do you think the Amazons, Googles, and everybody else really moves big in terms of bidding for professional sports rights?
I mean, I think it's there. I think we're right at the fringe. People always ask, when are these teams going to stop, getting, better value? And it's not going to happen for a while. I mean, these things are going to keep going. They are expensive, but if you just sit tight and you can hold for 20 years and you think about just breaking even, you're going to be in a good place.
What's the plan for the A-Rod digital media empire? You now have a podcast, you're on TV, you got your real, you got a whole thing going on.
I think we're trying to storytell. I mean, one of the things that I'm most excited about is Ozy Fest, because you have an opportunity. When I approached Carlos, we're both from Miami. He went to Ransom where my daughters go to school, and I said, I would love to be involved, but we have to have students be able to come in for free from all over the world. And he said, absolutely, a quarter of the people, of the 100,000, are going to come in free of charge, and they're students.
I think one of the things, Andrew, that we're thinking a lot about is an opportunity for people to learn and grow. The best thing I heard anyone say about Ozy Fest was I went to this cool festival in Central Park expecting to have my mind blown, and instead I had my mind grown. And so I'm hoping that ends up being true, and I'm hoping that a wide variety of people enjoy it.
Let me ask you, you've focused a lot on the millennial generation. That really is your target audience. And the millennial generation today is not so happy with the word capitalism. They actually talk a lot about how they like socialism. This gentleman over here is a true capitalist, I know that, but I'm trying to understand how you think that that's changing and shifting, what they mean by that, and sort of how you see all this debate playing out. We talk about it on this stage every day.
Well,
when you finish this, I want to ask him something. Okay.
Hey, Joe, I see where you're going. You want me to let you go first?
No. I'm not going to talk about that.
He wants to talk about the Met Gala.
No. I'm going to talk about the Marlins. I want to talk about.
Let Carlos go first.
You might not want to. But
I'm going to give you 2 seconds on that. What is super interesting is that millennials are focused on politics in a way that we haven't seen in a generation. And you're right. People like AOC, the former bartender, are focused on thinking about the question of capitalism. You just wrote a great piece in the Times recently about Buffett as being one of the few very public champions. I think you'll see that debate on the Ozy Fest stage. I mean, I think along with comedy, along with music, along with food, there will be certain presidential candidates who will want to have their say, maybe even young millennial presidential candidates who will weigh in about that.
Right. Alex,
Which one? That's a good tease.
Young kids today are they're purpose-driven, Andrew, and they want to be involved to a community.
Yep.
They don't, they are different, and you got to come at them with more than just ROI or money. They want to be part of something special.
All right, you got to help with the Marlins, Alex. And I'm going to read
Marlins.
This is an Onion. They're 5-23 or something. It's Jeter, bought this group. So this is an Onion piece that because the baseball operations are a loss leader at the Marlins that never really captured public interest, they're going to spin that off and just focus on concessions and apparel. Spin off the baseball. It's a joke.
From the Onion.
It's from the Onion. They're going to spin off the baseball
that's
operations and just focus on concessions. And I mean, is that a viable? What would you do down there?
I'll tell you, Miami is a complicated market, but it's a great market. I've been down there for over 30 years. You have to speak Spanish in that community. You have to tell your message. And the bottom line is, you're in the greatest.
You got to win, though, don't you?
But
10-23.
You got to double and triple down in the community. Around 5 miles around that stadium is the greatest talent in the world.
Yeah.
You got to double down. You can't compete with the Yankees internationally, but in Miami, in Florida, and down in South America, you can crush it.
You have faith?
I wouldn't bet against Derek Jeter.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I do have faith. Yeah.
I mean, I'm from Cincinnati, so I feel his.
So you know about faith.
I feel his pain. I feel his pain, and it takes time to rebuild.
When you take over a team, you should give that ownership at least 5 years so they can put their plan in place.
If he calls, you'll give him some advice on this?
I'm always willing to help a former champion and a teammate.
Okay, good.
Okay, so MLB.com has a big article. It says, J-Lo once again completely upstaged A-Rod at the Met Gala. I don't know if we have pictures. We should get pictures.
I hope you don't.
You had a pink tuxedo on, pink tuxedo top.
Yeah.
Looking good in it, though. Looking good. Wearing it well.
That was something else.
I think that's great. There's something there for everyone. I think you look awesome there.
Thank you. It was fun. Boy, I don't know about that tuxedo more.
What was the craziest? Some people said costume. I was going to say this time because this was camp, and some people thought this was a little more Halloweenish.
Yeah.
What was the craziest costume you saw?
Let's see. Odell had something really interesting on.
Right. The shorts. He had on the shorts and kind of right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll be at Ozy Fest, I'm sure.
Saquon.
Yeah.
What was the guy?
How about Cardi B? Cardi B had that.
Who was the guy who was holding on? Whose
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto was holding his head.
One of the Kardashians had his head on.
Right. Yeah. There were some beautiful people.
Not as real.
It was amazing. It was really cool. A lot of energy. It was much better than the last few years. And by the way, Cher was amazing. God bless her. Cher, you are a rock star.
She literally is a rock star.
She happens to be.
Wow,
for a long time.
It's like a sauna in here.
You're a rock star as well, Carlos. We appreciate both of you coming
love being with you guys.
Especially given that I know he was just on an airplane, literally got here about an hour ago. So
had to come.
Had to go through
Good Miami boy.
A-Rod, you have to go through security and everything, and get pat.
Always.
Not in Teterboro.
You don't have a net jet? Come on.
I don't have anything.
Not even
Markets
a car?
are tough. They've been volatile the last few days. We'll be back to talk about Berkshire Hathaway.
And the Uber IPO, both.
You come back tomorrow for more?
Little Silicon Valley love.
And John Foley next with Peloton.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, thank you both.
All right,
Okay, thanks for having us.